Welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast with hosts Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson, a podcast by dealers for dealers. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast. We continue our series here of how I built this. We've had some awesome stories from dealers and their journeys through the used car industry, getting to where they are now. And today we are joined by Mr. David Zapata. Did I get that right, David?
That's right. Yep. David Zapata. Or Zapata.
You didn't say it right, Jeff. I like the way he said it a lot better.
Yeah, let's hear you try, Luke.
Zapata.
You gotta roll
Zapata. Sorry.
There you
David,
go.
you own Cars Mart. Not to be confused with Car Smart, but Cars Mart. And you're up there in Michigan, right? Just kind of north of Bend or something?
Yeah, and pretty close to the border with Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, man. So it's getting cold up there.
It is.
That is no fun. So, David, give us real quick, introduce yourself to the dealer community and give us kind of like your 0 to 60. What kind of dealership do you run? The size, the scope? Introduce us.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my name's David Zapata, as you heard, and I have a family-owned business, which means I work along with my family. I really only have one employee that's outside of our family. And it started about 4 years ago. We've gotten into the buy here, pay here business about 3 years ago. And we've slowly made that into our top priority. We really like doing that. It's worked great for us. Since we started, we've pretty much averaged about 15 cars a month. On our retail side, like cash sales, we were usually averaging between $2,000 and $2,500 profit. And then on the buy here, pay here, I mean, it differs quite a bit.
That's it's interesting. So you didn't start out as buy here, pay here, David, but that's what you are now, or 90%?
For the most part, yeah. Yeah, I would say that the first year we started the buy here, pay here, we were probably like 80% cash sales, 20% buy here, pay here. And then the 2 years ago, it was kind of 50-50. And now we're at the point where we're probably more like 60 or 70-30.
And David, my dad, it sounds like kind of the way my dad's operation started 36 years ago, that, originally you open up and you're a retail dealer and what happened with him, he was having problems getting people financed. Back then it was a lot different than it is today.
Yeah.
What spurred your change from retail only to being in the buy here, pay here space?
Well, quite a bit of things. The main thing is I actually got into the business because I wanted to do something more with my money. Back in 2010, I started a program, pretty much learn how to manage money. And the program really went around how to become your own banker. So the idea of, making money work for you, just really stuck with me. I've been, throughout my life learning more and more. And I mean, the buy here, pay here business just allows for you to do that. And that's kind of the idea behind it. And I knew when I started the dealership, that's kind of where I wanted to go towards. I started my business with $23,000 and, and then borrowing money from family members, and I got my family involved. And then once I had, a little pool, then I started doing the buy here, pay here, and we've been growing since.
And how many accounts? Yeah. Go ahead,
David. Talk to me about that. Sorry, Luke. You were going to ask probably how many accounts have you grown to now? Where do you sit now?
About, let me see, because we've sold quite a bit. So I think we're on the low side. It's under 150 since
great.
We started.
But $23,000 up to 150 buy here, pay here accounts in what'd you say, 4 years? I mean, that's aggressive.
Yeah.
I want to talk, David. What about the family dynamic? I find that so interesting from a young car lot. I mean, obviously, Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, you guys are shutting down completely this week because I know how it was with what I was running all family. It's like, well, we got a family vacation, so we're shutting down the place.
We've done that quite a bit. Yep.
What's the dynamic there? How did you, I mean, are you partners with your family? Did you bring them in ownership? Are you the
Nope.
boss and they're employees? Like,
Pretty much.
talk to us about that dynamics. I think so many dealers start out that way.
It was, I brought the idea up to my dad. So my dad and I are both mechanics. And once I got my ASC certification, I always talk to him like, hey, let's open up our own shop. He was working out of home and he wanted to do something, at home. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want it to be legit, or like, we can't do it. And I brought up the idea of starting a dealership, and he was just like, oh no, like, I don't want to get involved. I'll fix the cars and that's it. So I was like, fine, I'll start it up. I'll send you the cars, you fix them. I'll come help you when I can. And like, we'll do it that way. And that's how I started. Everything just all in my name. And, it kind of got to a point in 2019, the place that I purchased had a big building that was for storage units. And we gutted that whole thing and we turned it into a repair shop. So after one year, my dad saw, kind of how things were going, and he was a contractor basically. He didn't like that because I told him like, hey man, you got to set aside your taxes. He wasn't. He had to pay taxes, and he's just like, oh, like I can't do it. So I'm like, all right, I'll hire you. And from my perspective, it's really been easy in that fact that I get along pretty well with my parents. I have both of my parents working for me, and my brother. They're in the mindset that they just want to work hard and like leave me out of everything else.
So you started on your own, then you hired your parents. That's the opposite of what normally happens, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any siblings involved in the business?
Yeah, my brother.
Oh goodness.
Both your parents, your brother, your wife,
my wife,
of course,
cousins,
nieces,
children.
nephews, cousins.
Eventually.
That's
oh my!
great.
Yeah.
So, what is your brother? Is your brother sales or?
No, so my brother does the auto detailing, and this past year, midway through last year, he started going to automotive classes. He was like, "Hey man, I want to fix cars with dad." And he's been doing that for a year and a half, and now, I mean, he's doing amazing to the point where I've had another detailer guy come in, and I'm looking for another detailer because it's more beneficial to have a good mechanic.
Much easier to replace a detailer than a mechanic, that's for
Right.
sure. And you have such a great advantage being ASE certified as a dealer. You know what to look for, and I think some of us come the other direction. I have medium mechanical abilities, but I don't always know when I'm looking at something at the auction or on the street, or if my guys are tearing into something in the back, I don't always know where they've messed up, where they did something wrong. So you as the dealer can go back there, stick your nose under the hood and be like, hey guys, I know what you're talking about. This is wrong or this is right. Let's move forward. I think that's such a great advantage that you have.
It's that's actually been a double-edged sword.
Also,
because I bought vehicles to where like, oh, like I can fix that. And all of a sudden I have 10, 15, 20 vehicles that, I can fix that. And it just piles up. And that's not necessarily a good thing, And when I do find a car that is in good condition, that I was able to test drive, inspect, whatever, all of a sudden everybody else is bidding it up more than I'd like to pay for it. So
you're the guy that everyone follows around at the auction. Yep.
I mean, in a sense, and I don't want to be known for that because then, I'll be fighting with everybody else on that. So
yeah, we did that for a long time. We would always go down and preview the night before, and all the dealers started to know that if I was bidding on something, it was a good car. So I had to start bidding on stuff I didn't want to try to stick them with a real lemon to try to throw them off the scent. Yeah. So you have to you have to play the game. They'll follow you.
Yeah.
That's
but
did you go to tech school to become a technician? Is that how you got into it? I mean, is your dad always in the automotive repair business?
Yeah. So my dad, I think he he went to local school for automotive back in 2002, 2003. He's been a mechanic since, and I actually went to school for that. Before I went to school, I kind of had already, learned a lot from my dad. And to me personally, it was really disappointing going to school because a lot of people take it as a joke. And I ended up getting ASC certified on my own. I just, kept studying, learning, took my ASC certifications, and I ended up working at a European shop, working on European vehicles. And I mean, that's just it's more challenging. So I felt like that even sped up the process of me learning even more. So it was nice that I did that.
How does your, I guess, coming from that background, getting your ASC, going to school to becoming a tech, that really shows you how much you think training is worth it, I should say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What are you doing as a car dealer to get that training and to kind of simulate what you've done in the repair business?
Well, for one, with my brother, really, I continue to motivate him to keep doing that, and it's really worth it. And if I were to find, when I'm ready, because I know I'll be ready at some point here, to find somebody else, even if they're not yet a certified mechanic, I'd want to get somebody in. I can, hey man, let's get you trained, let's get you motivated to go to school, because even if you only work here for a couple years, that's just gonna benefit you, in life altogether. And I mean, I'm all about that.
Are you doing any training to become a better car dealer, or what?
Oh yeah, certainly.
What are you doing on that side?
Going to conferences, just building relationships. Ever since I got my wife involved, we've been really doing a lot of learning on and structuring our business, how to keep it growing. No program in particular, just kind of a lot of pick and choose here and there.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier, David. I know you are a Buckeye customer and you're using some of those products. So of course we need to plug them because they sponsor the podcast. What are you using them for? A dealership of your size selling about 15 a month, and some of those, majority of them are buy here, pay here. Where do you find that useful?
So earlier this year, I was finding myself, our motto for our business is dealing with integrity, and ever since I started, honesty, transparency has always been a priority. In fact, none of us at my dealership, we don't have any salespeople. Our main focus is just the vehicles, and the vehicles are going to sell themselves. That's always been my train of thought, and it's worked out good for us. I've had many people that they think they can come, show up, look at a car just to be super nitpicky about it, to find things wrong. And I'll tell them like, hey, you're welcome to go look at other cars. This one's going to be here if you want. And I've had so many people come back and like, shoot, yeah, that is a good car. We'll tell people straight up, this is a used car. It has, dings and scratches. But I don't mean to get away from your question. So with Buckeye, earlier this year, I started noticing that if something happened with a car, like we're always going to be responsible. We're going to respond and help people out. Something minor happens, whatever, alternator goes out a couple months on the road. Hey, bring it back. We'll take care of you. And because of doing that, we were like, all right, we need some kind of a pool of money where we're already holding ourselves responsible. We're already helping people out. Why not have a pool of money in case something major does happen that we can pull from and just continue doing what we're doing? We were selling third-party insurance. We're using an Alpha warranty. And anytime something happened, if it's not covered by that warranty, I'm like, what the heck, man? I just sold this car, sold the warranty. A water pump failed 3 months down the road. Well, usually water pumps are covered, but you know what I mean? Something that's not covered. And then it just makes us look bad if we don't do something about it, especially if we sold them insurance. So here we are taking care of the problem anyways.
Yeah.
So once I found out that Buckeye had a program similar to what we wanted, where we could sell our own warranty, then I mean, we've been, it's been great, because now I have a little pool of money where something does happen, we can pull from, and we're gonna take care of people. So
Yeah,
Well, that's
you don't want to send the money away, right? We talk about it all the
Right.
time. Keep
Yeah.
it in your own pocket.
yeah,
It's funny, Jeff. I think the reason so many people end up getting in reinsurance and selling aftermarket products is because we get so frustrated with other warranty companies not doing what they said they'll do, right?
yeah,
And so you get so frustrated, and you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to open my own reinsurance company. Of course, we say Buckeye's the way to go. Get your own reinsurance company, get it going. But the biggest reason is because you get so dang mad at aftermarket warranty companies that don't cover what they say they're going to cover.
Yeah.
And don't take care of your customer, right?
But like,
Right.
we're surprised that they're trying to make money. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're surprised that Mannheim doesn't want to arbitrate something or glosses over something in the post-sale inspection.
Man.
Like, we're surprised that the insurance isn't going to pay their loan off when it's totaled. Like, we're surprised the customer's not going to keep insurance. It's like, come on, guys. We know that the warranty company's there to make money. They don't want to pay on these claims, and they're going to find every reason not to. And those are the ones that rub us the wrong way,
Yeah, but it's so frustrating because you talk the customer into doing it. You're going to be, ultimately, you're going to be the person who's going to be responsible,
and you're going to fix it anyways when the warranty company says no.
Yeah. So why keep that pool of money when you can do it a different way? And David, that's a really smart idea. Glad you decided to go with Buckeye on that.
So
it's been great.
David, I want to know what else. Are there any other things you've implemented at your dealership as you've grown that you feel like have really kind of changed the course or been kind of fundamental game changers for you? I mean, is it your marketing, your website, switching over to more buy here, pay here? Like, any of those things kind of jump out to you?
So I would say that we are currently in a big transitional moment, especially because of COVID. Things have drastically changed. Going from being able to get near $4,000 down payment on a car to people looking to put only $1,500 down on a vehicle now versus few months ago, it makes a big difference on how you structure deals, what kind of cars we're gonna buy. It just makes it rethink everything. I tried a lot of advertisement as far as advertising our vehicles, and I've personally found that all that has to do is with just money. When people looking at a car, a lot of times they're just looking for, where's the cheapest car? And some of that advertisement, like either with Cars for Sale, Carfax, or Auto Trader, for us, those don't really seem to work because of the price idea. So now what we do is we just advertise who we are and what we do. We are a dealership that is dedicated on dealing with integrity, of being honest, being transparent, and we're here to help people in the best way possible. And that's what we've been advertising, using Facebook, just a lot of post interaction with people. And that's worked out great for us.
What's funny is I think it took me 25 years to figure that out, Jeff. Look, we got somebody that's been in business for 5 years that understands. It's brand advertising, especially in what we do in the buy here, pay here industry. It's about being able to get that customer engaged with you, get them to trust that you're going to take care of them, and the cars will sell themselves once you have that message out there. And David, that's good to hear that you're doing that. Did I hear you say earlier that you had sold some accounts, or are you keeping them
off? No, so we've been working with Agora, and we've sold our accounts to them, but in return we are able to see some of the profit as customers continue paying on those accounts. So they're not necessarily sold and gone. They're sold, and depending on how they do it, we continue to receive revenue from those accounts.
And David, is that Agora the only person you've ever sold accounts to?
Correct. Yep.
I know it's kind of hard starting with $23,000 to start building a
Yep.
buy here,
talk
pay
to us
here
about
portfolio.
why. Can I ask you why? What's your philosophy behind that? Was it just to free up cash flow and try to keep going, or what was the?
Yeah. So it kind of got to a point where a lot of families and friends started noticing what I was doing, but it just took a lot of time dealing with not only the accounts that we have, but now, dealing with other family or friends money, that it was easier to just have one place to get funding from, that I could continue to finance my accounts, and it made life easier.
Let's go down that route for a second, because I think that's really an anomaly that you would borrow money from friends and family to start funding a buy here, pay here store. I think it's actually a really good option. Talk about how that looked. What percentage rate were you paying those people? Did you have people all of a sudden coming in demanding money back? How does that look, David?
Yeah, so I try to do it very conservative. So we can just use round numbers. If I sold an account, financed $10,000, and I had $6,000, into that account, I would only ask for the $6,000, and I would set up a payment plan according to what the customer was paying, and I would pay back the investor 80%, and I would keep 20%. And that allowed me to pay them back quicker. And then once those 6,000 were paid off and I continue to receive money, then all of a sudden I'm keeping 100%, and I don't owe anybody anything. And I was paying 15% on that, on that 6,000.
So you were paying them back 6,000. You were paying them 80% of the payment back. Is that what you were doing? The principal?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if somebody was paying $300 a month, I'll be paying $240 back to the investor.
Okay, until you get it paid off at 15% amortized over the length of the contract, or just until how'd you amortize that?
Yeah, so whatever, I would put it at 240 until that was paid off.
Okay.
Yep.
And that
with
a lot
interest.
to keep up. That had to be a lot to keep up with, David.
It was, yeah. I mean, fortunately, I found programs where it made it easy. The bank account, just go in there, set up my monthly payments, automatic payments to this account, and once it's set up, it's done. I don't have to worry about it.
And how many people did you have doing this for you?
I probably got close to 20.
Whoa.
Wow.
And
how much money at that point did you have indebted to them?
Close to 100 I got to.
Okay.
It was like, yeah.
Okay. And you don't do any of that anymore?
No, I still do.
Okay.
But really, with the pool of people that I do it with is much smaller.
Yeah.
So probably down to like 5, which is much easier to deal with and work with. And it keeps us, I can control and utilize the money still, those 5. It's easy to manage. It's not overwhelming, and it makes things just flow easy. We're happy using it. They're happy getting interest on that money. So
it's such an interesting story. I mean, the way that dealers in general, and also specifically buy here, pay here, is in the beginning, how you get your capital is you're scrapping. You're doing everything you can. You're getting $5,000 from 20 people, to try to fund some deals. And then you got a whole separate accounting and spreadsheet and thing to kind of deal with. And then eventually you can kind of see yourself start to build some momentum, get some financials underneath you. And then you can narrow it down to like the 5 best lenders. And then you also can get someone like Agora or, I don't know, Spartan or Texas or any of these, whoever these other lenders are, to start giving you money. Hopefully a local bank would extend you a line of credit or something as you start to kind of build up your financials and your reputability. But you do, man, if you have a dream and you have ambition and you have integrity, then you just scrap, and you're fine taking $10,000 from your great aunt Susan, because you're good for it and you're going to make it happen,
Yep. Yeah.
And David, how did you approach these people when it came to, how did you find 20 people? Did you just go, hey, I need $5,000? I mean, how'd you set that up? Sorry for the interruption in the podcast, but we'd like to talk to you about TaxMax. TaxMax is a great way to get that tax money, right, Jeff? And it's going to be a big tax season.
Yeah. So this is being recorded mid-November. Not sure when it's going to go live, but I've already done 3 deferred tax deals.
Awesome.
Based off estimates. So 2,000, 1,500, and another 2,000 deal. These are kind of our preferred customers, current clients that wanted to upgrade. They used the TaxMax program last year, the year before, so they know how it works. We know how their taxes work. I mean, it's a slam dunk, and it's deals we would have done anyways for these customers because they're good clients. They pay well. This is just the opportunity to help them get into something a little bit nicer, a little bit of an upgrade, and for us to eventually not be as cash strapped in that deal because I paid more for those cars.
Yeah. Everybody's paying more. And I tell you, TaxMax is a way to make sure you get that money. So rush out, sign up. We have a code, right, Jeff?
Yeah. I think it's dealer pod or pod 20 or something like that. Look it up in the show notes. Make sure you use our code so they know that we're doing them some good, and we'll get back to the episode.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd call friends. I call family like, hey, you got some money you want to make some interest on? What I'd ask questions like, hey, how's your, do you have your savings in a bank account collecting 2%? You want it to collect 15%? And then the other thing is I told them like, hey, you're not going to have your money strapped for 2 years. Every month you're going to be getting, a decent amount of principal back plus interest. So, I mean, I talked it up.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I like that idea, Jeff. I really do.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to jump online and start like a GoFundMe or like a crowdsource or like
crowdsource.
Yeah.
I think is what you'd have to do there.
Yeah, I'm going to go crowdsource my next line from just random people off of Twitter and then collect it.
and that's what Agora is doing. They are crowdsourcing money to fund. And I mean, really, I see what they're doing pretty much what I was doing, just in a larger scale.
Yeah, from real banks.
Yeah.
With crowdsourcing. David, yeah.
So we talked about some of the things you've done right. Can you share with us something you feel like you've done wrong? Like, is there some pothole you stepped in or something you blew up that you would tell dealers to avoid?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a joke.
Okay.
There's a drunk guy walking on the street. And he's just walking and boom, he hits himself. He keeps walking, boom, he hits someone else. Keeps walking, boom, he hits himself again. He stops and he's like, 1, 2, 3. He's like, oh, I'm not home yet. 2 more.
Is that what you feel like?
Yeah, but in a way, definitely, kind of walking to a destination and you hit bumps, but you don't want to be drunk, right? You don't want to forget that you're hitting this stuff. You want to be able to, next time you're coming around like, hey, I hit that bump. I'm not going to hit it again. And we've done that. I mean, I've done that plenty of times. I think more than anything, the number one thing is buying cars. Been burnt so many times from local auctions. Buy a car, green light. And then all of a sudden it has major problems and they're like, oh, that's not covered. I mean, I'm sure you guys know about all this. Besides that, a lot of times I got, from people that, oh, you're working with family that's not going to turn out good. And it's had its challenges, but more than anything, I mean, it's probably been the best decision I've made. And I did write some other things. Let me see here.
Yeah, to speak to those 2 points, David, and say we talked about last week or a couple of weeks ago. We spoke when you are a small dealer and you're buying 10 to 15 a month or whatever it is. Every single car matters.
Definitely.
You can't afford to have 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 15 be bad because there's no way to cover that. So yeah, those days when you would crawl up and over top of and underneath every single car you bought. It's a great reminder for those dealers that are buying, 100, 150 every month. like, we start having to scale and we maybe get a little bit lazy, but do we really need to?
Right.
Are we losing a lot of money because we just think that's the cost of trying to buy that many cars, when it's like, no, it's just giving it the same attention that you used to give it at 10 or 15 cars. Now you need 3 buyers to give that many cars attention.
Well, Jeff, that's an interesting point you make, because I found myself, when I was having to buy just a couple, like you're talking about 15 to 20 cars a month, I inspected them like they were gold, right?
Yeah.
And I drove everyone after I bought it. I did all this. And the more cars I had to start buying, the less I could focus on doing that. And so you end up getting problem cars more often, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's a part of doing business, cost of doing business. And go ahead.
I'd say you're not willing to scale. I'd say if it got to the point where you can't put your hands on 50 cars anymore, you need another one of you. So those bad buys would more than make up for someone's salary to try to hire and train another Luke so that you can really buy the best 20 or 30 cars each.
I don't know that can actually be done because when you start buying a lot of volume, you're going to have mistakes. It's just the way it is. Luckily, the bigger dealer you are, the more cars you buy, it doesn't hurt as bad. And, it's one of the reasons we use Buckeye, PSI, because we know we're going to make mistakes. It's too expensive really to send the car back to the auction with a mistake now. You just got to repair it and move on. And I think some people get, if you're buying the right car and there's a problem, well, just fix the problem is kind of the way I look at it. Even if it costs you $2,000 to fix the problem, if you fix the problem, you're still gonna make money. So who cares, right?
It's tough. So recently we did I looked at 2012 Toyota Camrys, both of them very similar mileage, 108, 116,000 miles, similar trim. And one of them I got for $6,000 and the other one I paid $9,000 for. So the $6,000 Camry, I mean, you can kind of imagine $3,000. It was beat up. Like I need to replace both bumpers. The interior was trashed. Like we took all the seats, all the carpet, door panels out to clean it and get it. Okay, but now the $6,000 car, it looks like a $13,000 car. I mean, it really does. The 9,000
into it.
Well, I mean, really,
mostly clean.
It was a
elbow grease
wise. We've only put like $200 into it.
Yeah.
Time wise, we spent a little bit over 3 days on it. Which I mean, it's time when it still counts a lot.
Yeah.
But the $9,000 Camry now, I mean, I think we put 2 TPMS sensors on it. We didn't even have to do an oil change on it. I mean, it was a great car. So looking at those things, it's like, all right, what do we do? I actually, the $9,000 Camry, I couldn't sell because we had no title. I just got a title for it last week. So we're going to put it up for sale, and the $6,000 car is just about ready. So, I mean, which is the better deal?
That's I get that problem all the time. It's like, I have to buy that car, but how long would it take to do this or that?
It depends. Do you have more time or more money? Do you have more manpower or do you have more money? Because obviously, when you could argue that $6,000 Camry, you put another, with manpower and opportunity loss, you probably put another $2,000 to $3,000 into it, even if you didn't actually spend $2,000 to $3,000, right?
Right.
So with the manpower and the opportunity, you could have been getting another car ready. Instead of spending 3 days on this one, you could have spent half a day and had 4 more ready for the front line. That changes things. But if you've got mechanics standing around and you've got the time, then maybe you can go out there and polish some turds, and make some money on them.
But one thing, the one thing, and if you again have a car that's hard to find and it does need a transmission or it does need that, but again, if it's a hard to find car, you just have to buy it and kind of bite the bullet, right? Because it's going to sell as soon as you get it ready.
It's like real estate, right? Fix and flip. Yeah. Sometimes they're fix and flips, sometimes they're turnkey, and sometimes it's all about location. No matter what you're going to pay for that thing, it's in the perfect location. Just buy it, fix it how you need to fix it because you know it will always rent. And it's the same with
right.
those cars, right? Put whatever you got to put into it because you know it's going to be a quick turn regardless.
Yeah, if it's a Chevrolet Z71 crew cab, you just got to buy it.
Yeah.
You got to make it work, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I personally will say that I would rather buy the $9,000 car. And it's pretty much because of what you said, Jeff. You know, I'd rather get more cars ready. And, you know, I mean, there's just those 3 days I lost a lot of time that, you know, I could have had help doing something else.
You admitted you got a bunch of projects back there. You got a bunch of builders sitting on the back lot. You could have got knocked out. David, any other advice for dealers before we leave you today?
You know, I would say attend conferences, NIDA conferences. Making connections has been such a huge thing. Just being able to hear what other people are doing, see what they're doing, build those connections. It really helps structure, and being flexible and open to make adjustments. Just because you've been doing the same thing for 10, 15 years and it's worked out till now. I mean, times are changing, right? I mean, we have a whole pandemic that we have to deal with, and the whole country is dealing with it one way or another. Some places harder than others. So I think to be able to be open to make adjustments, flexibility is probably the biggest thing, because we're still having to do that right now.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you, David.
Yeah.
That it? Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to edit that quick.
I had a couple more things. I guess one thing that I had, written down too was I had written down money now versus money later. What's better? Do you need money now or do you need money later? I tend to think of money later as in I try to play things safe. I'd rather make sure that my money is going to be worth a lot more in the near future, especially with inflation and all those things, and having to structure my business where I know my money's going to be worth a lot more later than trying to get everything just quick money now. And then, how far does that go?
That is the concept of buy here, pay here, I think.
Yeah.
Compared to retail.
Yeah, agree. Yeah.
Yeah, where you're putting when you're putting a car on a note for 2 to 3 years, I'd almost, it's a hard argument both ways, because you're locking in the value of that car today and letting them pay on it for 3 years, right? We look at ourselves with inflation and the way we hedge against inflation, or the way you look at your house, you're like, yeah, I'm locked into this house and this interest rate for 30 years. So regardless of what money does or what house values do, my mortgage payment is always going to be $2,000, no matter what, for the next 30 years. I don't care if inflation goes crazy. So it is kind of an interesting, almost catch-22 on buy here, pay here, because you are locking people into 3-year loans. I look at the cars that I sold 12 months ago. I would love to resell them again today for $2 to $3 grand more than what I sold them for 12 months ago. And those people are tied into it.
Yeah, but with the buy here, pay here, I mean, don't you have more opportunity to get that car back than if you would have sold at retail?
Good point. And if you go lease here, pay here, do you have even more opportunity to get that car back?
Here we go down that rabbit hole again.
Yeah, if you are of the opinion that these assets, that cars as an asset will continue to kind of hedge inflation to a degree, like we have seen. I mean, think back pre-cash for clunkers, things have just gone on a straight upward trend since then. Now, if you could force these cars to come back to you every 24 months and they're worth more than what you actually thought they were going to be worth, that's a great, you want to take that sucker in for trade, in on a lease termination.
I think that's where David has a good point, that in the buy here, pay here industry, you should be able to recover a lot more of those trades. But unfortunately, sometimes those trades aren't worth anything once you recover.
And that's why the buying the cars is such a big thing, because I'd rather spend a little bit more on a Toyota than maybe on a Chevy Cruze, because a little Toyota Corolla is going to be worth more than the Chevy Cruze is going to be in 3 years, for sure.
Don't you talk bad about cruises.
I will not sell them anymore. So it's garbage.
But that's a good point when you look at your business model. You look at your business model and you say, okay, if I'm a 3,000 or 4,000 ACV, what is this car worth in 2 to 3 years?
Yep.
Scrap metal. Now, if I'm an $8,000 or $9,000 ACV, does this car have 2 lives in it? Can I get this sucker in on trade in 24 months and then sell it again a second time? You know, and if I'm a Luke, I'm a 15,000 ACV on my buy here, pay here. Now that car might have 3 lives. You know,
open.
I might be able to sell that sucker 3 lives, and I can trade this person in every 2 years, 2.5 years, get them in on trade and keep selling that thing over and over. So it's a really interesting argument when you look at your ACV and what is your long-term, game plan and goal. And I know we all naturally, I fight to stay at a low ACV because I want that car to be affordable and I want it to be, but there's a lot of, downside that comes to having a 3,000 or 4,000 ACV.
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah. The brain damage, the customers that it draws in, the ability to recycle that trade in. It's something I'm definitely battling right now.
I can't say which one's better.
Yeah. We went down a crazy rabbit hole there, David, but hey, to wrap this up, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in. Everyone can take an example from David. When we met him at convention, I think it was in Round Rock at the Texas. None of us had any business being in Texas. None of us.
In San Antonio. San Antonio, not in.
Was it San Antonio?
I think it was.
Okay.
Who knows?
But David came right up and he said hi and he introduced himself to everyone around him and he talked to everyone. And when we saw him at lunches, he was networking and chit-chatting with dealers. I mean, David is a great example of a dealer that's just out there, just like soaking it up like a sponge, talking to everybody, being involved. So props to you, David, for that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I've never had experience with this. I mean, I come from a background of being a mechanic, not a car sales by any means. So I like the idea of getting all different kinds of point of view, and it's been great.
David, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Sweet. Perfect.
All right.
You can edit me out cutting him off. I didn't mean to cut him off.
No, y'all edit out our fake out ending.
You're good, man.
Cool, man. Okay, appreciate it, David.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Yeah, no, that was very helpful.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Good hearing from you guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Stay out of the missus.
Will do. Thank you. You too.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
So glad you joined us. Please take a minute to leave us a review and share this podcast with a friend. The Independent Dealer Podcast. Dealers helping dealers.